Hello and welcome to Xhiaen's Guide to the Lord Marrowgar encounter. Lord Marrowgar is the first boss that you come across upon entering Xhiaen Citadel, and as such is a fairly basic encounter with only 4 mechanics that you need to master. The first of these abilities is called Cold Flame. As the name suggests, this summons a line of frost fire that hits all enemies in its affected area and is targeted at a random raid member. This has an 8-yard line of effect and deals 6k frost damage to anyone standing in it per second. So with most things in World of Warcraft, standing in fire tends to be a bad thing. The second of Lord Marrowgar's abilities is called Bone Storm. This ability attacks all nearby enemies in a whirlwind of bone that lasts until cancelled. This ability does damage every 2 seconds to anyone standing within the radius of his hitbox. 6k damage is dealt to you if you're standing directly on top of the boss. 4k damage every 2 seconds if you're just inside his hitbox. 2k damage every 3 seconds if you are standing just outside his hitbox. And around 800 damage or so at around 30 yards away from the boss. This basically means that everybody in the raid will be taking a fair chunk of damage during this ability, and people should spread out, and raid healers should be preparing large group heals for this. The next of Lord Marrowgar's abilities is called Bone Spike Graveyard. This ability targets a random raid member and impales them, dealing 10% of their health every second until the spike itself is killed. The ranged DPS in your group need to make sure they're looking out for these and are killing them as soon as possible. The final of Lord Marrowgar's abilities is called Saber Lash. This is a melee range attack that splits 200% of his normal melee weapon damage between the current aggro target and its nearest ally. This ability is generally dealt with by having the 2 tanks stack on top of each other at all times to mitigate the damage without risk of killing a melee DPS. If your raid group can manage to kill Lord Marrowgar with relative ease, then you should have no problem progressing all the way through the first wing of Xhiaen Citadel. A few hints and tips that we've discovered from this encounter. A frost resistance aura can be helpful to mitigate some of the cold flame damage, especially if your healers are undergeared or have never been to the encounter before. Another tip for the Bone Storm ability is during this Bone Storm, melee DPS in particular want to make sure they never turn their back to the boss, as the damage from the Bone Storm can be parried and dodged. Remember, Lord Marrowgar has a huge hitbox, and this has often caused problems for melee DPS as they misjudge the distance during the Bone Storm ability. Unnecessary raid damage can be avoided for this by making sure the melee DPS are turning and running away from the boss a couple of seconds before he finishes his Bone Storm cast, as the damage described earlier can be unnecessary and waste of healing mana. All that's left to say is have fun and good luck.